Hoyoverse has recently announced another brand new game at TGS, which is called Petite Planet. With Honkai Nexus Anima just being revealed in May of this year, let's be honest, this is the fastest they've ever pumped out new titles back to back. But while this might sound exciting for some, we gotta stop and ask, at what cost? Because when you look at the state of Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, and Zenless Zone Zero, it's hard not to feel like Hoyoverse is quietly abandoning ship. They've been on cruise control for months now, letting these games burn while they build new IPs in the background. So today I wanted to talk about what feels like a pattern, a cycle that's becoming impossible to ignore. Hoyoverse has been expanding faster than ever before, and don't get me wrong, new IPs are cool, but when your current games are struggling this hard, it's fair to question whether the expansion is coming at the cost of the quality and care we used to expect. Because let's face it, Genshin isn't the same as it used to be ever since Natlan. Genshin has just been on a downtrend recently. Honkai Star Rail's story is butt cheeks, along with their increased predatory practices and crappy gameplay loop. This drove the players away in the 3.x series, and Zenless Zone Zero feels like they're trying to hang on for dear life while inflation, silent nerfs, crappy character designs, and uninspired story rams their player base from behind. So why now? Why push two brand new projects around the same time and not use these resources on their previous games? But before we dig deeper into this video, if you've been enjoying the content recently, make sure to subscribe and turn the notification bell on so you don't miss out on any future videos. Also, my community Discord is pinned in the comment section down below for those of you that want to join to say what up. Now, without further ado, let's get into this. Back in May, Hoyoverse announced Honkai Nexus Anima, and not even 4 months later revealed Petite Planet during Tokyo Game Show. What's really shocking is how fast this is happening. Historically, Hoyoverse takes its time between launches. There's usually years in between each big project. Honkai Impact 3rd came out in October of 2016, Genshin Impact was released in 2020, Honkai Star Rail came out 3 years later in 2023, then Zenless Zone Zero hit in 2024. So with this trend, since 2023, we're quite literally seeing Hoyoverse spam new games faster than ever. With just a little over ZZZ's 1 year mark, we're now already seeing 2 new games in development that looks like they easily could be released next year. Now, let's be real here. At this current point in time, I think it's fair to say that this might be the weakest state we've ever seen Hoyoverse in. All 3 of their major titles are struggling in one way or another. People are tired of the BS that Hoyo has put them through, people are catching on to the repeated cycles, and people are starting to put their focus into other games. It's like each of these games are just coasting by, running on autopilot. There's no real push for innovation or passion behind these updates anymore. Hoyoverse seems to be focused on keeping the lights on rather than actually pushing these games to thrive the way they once used to. Now, here's the thing. This strategy might work in the short term, but long term, it's dangerous. Players notice when you stop caring, and right now, communities across all Hoyoverse titles are more vocal than ever. Across all 3 games, people are seeking change that still hasn't been answered, with in some cases spanning over months and years, especially for Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. Some complaints still haven't been addressed, which in turn are driving these games downward. Instead of reinvesting profits into making these games better, refining systems, listening to feedback, Hoyoverse is choosing to fund entirely new games. It's like you own 3 houses, all of them are falling apart, and instead of fixing the leaks, you're buying 2 more properties across town. Sure, it looks ambitious, but eventually you're just left with a bunch of half-maintained homes. And that's where the frustration comes in. Imagine if they didn't do this. Imagine if the resources going into Nexus Anima and Petite Planet were instead redirected back into improving their current lineup. Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, all these games could be in a much better state and completely thriving. Only if more resources were put into these games, feedback was answered, and change was made. We're not asking for miracles, just effort. Hoyoverse has the money, they've made billions across these games. It's not a matter of capability, it's a matter of choice. And the choice they're making right now sends a clear message. They're focused on expansion, not refinement. So for those of you that are Hoyoverse fans, now's the time to be careful with how much you invest into these games. Now, don't get me wrong, new IPs aren't inherently bad. Nexus Anima and Petite Planet might end up being great games. To be quite frank, if they pulled off a gacha Animal Crossing and made it good, I mean, all the power to them. But I can't ignore the pattern. It's a cycle. They build something great, milk it, plateau, and move on. But eventually, players are going to stop following. I mean, we're seeing it now more than ever. Players are leaving Genshin after Natlan, people are fed up and leaving HSR after 3.x, and ZZZ, well, ZZZ dropped the ball quite literally after the game dropped because they thought it was a great idea to have players in TVs more than combat. But regardless, you get my point. It's getting to the point now where people can genuinely start questioning why should they get invested into these games when you know the quality is just going to tank within a small window of time. Then Hoyo gets up and goes and starts making a new game. To me, there's absolutely no point. And honestly, if you're still a Hoyoverse fan right now, I'd be worried. Not because it's wrong to enjoy their games. I mean, all the power to you. Genshin, Star Rail, ZZZ, they were all great games at one point. But the reason I'd be worried is because it's becoming clearer and clearer that Hoyoverse doesn't view these games as long-term homes anymore. They view them as projects, temporary stops on the roadmap to the next big thing. Maybe they're like you guys and they're making these games in hopes they might blow up like Genshin did. Maybe they have a gambling addiction too. I don't know. If you've been around since the early Genshin days, or maybe year 1 of HSR, or maybe even that 1 to 2 month window for ZZZ during patch 1.3 and 1.4, you probably remembered how passionate the devs seemed. But now, it feels like they stopped trying to grow these games and started treating them like cash cows. It's like they're trying to see how much more money they can milk out of their player base until they fall flat. And that's why it's so scary as a fan. You invest time, money, energy, and yet the studio that you're loyal to is already halfway out the door, eyes on their next shiny thing. If this cycle keeps repeating, hype, neglect, abandon, then where does that leave you all? Why should the players stay loyal when the loyalty isn't being returned? That's the question all of you should be asking yourselves. There's also a risk of Hoyoverse burning out their own brand, and honestly, that might already be happening. Back when a new Hoyoverse title was announced, it meant something to everyone. Something that the whole gacha community used to be hype about. It was rare. It was an event. You'd see massive hype, fan speculation, entire communities forming around the game before it even dropped. But now, it's starting to feel like a routine, and suddenly people are just simply burnt out with Hoyoverse. And the more they dilute their identity with these half-effort games, the harder it's going to be to get players truly excited about anything. These games don't really feel special, it feels like desperation. So yeah, seeing Hoyoverse announce 2 brand new games this quickly isn't just surprising, it's concerning. It tells us where their priorities lie. And sadly, it's not with the community that built them up. And honestly, I think we've reached a point where players' trust in Hoyoverse is at an all-time low. You can feel it in the community, man. Back when Honkai Star Rail was first revealed, or when Zenless Zone Zero dropped the first trailer, everyone was hyped. There was that buzz, that feeling of Hoyoverse dropped something new, it's gonna be lit. But now, with Honkai Nexus Anima and Petite Planet, that energy just isn't there. People aren't excited. A lot of people already written these games off. They're simply just tired. They're looking at these announcements and can already see the massive nightmare these games will eventually turn into. And that speaks volumes, because when the audience stops celebrating your reveals, when the name Hoyoverse no longer guarantees excitement, that's not on the players, that's on the studio. They burn through so much goodwill that even new games, which should feel fresh and exciting, are now met with skepticism. That's the damage they've done to themselves, and once you lose that spark, once your community stops believing in you, well, it might be time to pack it up, brother. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Petite Planet succeeds, but not Honkai Anima Nexus. That's some straight copy and paste BS. But realistically, these games shouldn't shine at the cost of Genshin, Star Rail, or ZZZ. Because no matter how delusional I think these Hoyo shills are, these diehard fans shouldn't be the ones getting the crappy end of the stick. What do you guys think? Do you feel like Hoyoverse is spreading itself too thin? Or is this just the natural evolution of a studio this big? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to know what you all think, as I do typically read all the comments. But if you're new here and enjoy this kind of content, make sure to subscribe and turn the notification bell on so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you like this video, I'm more than confident you'll enjoy either one of these videos on screen. That's all I got today for you, Freaky Frogs. Take care and peace.